The number one thing that builds deeper relationships, even with your kids, is vulnerability. First and foremost, what is vulnerability? What does that really mean? It means you invite people to see you as who you truly are. It means you're honest and transparent about your feelings, thoughts, and experiences. And it also means that you are open about feeling or being hurt, both physically and emotionally. And when you bring this vulnerability into your relationships, you will find that you hit such a deeper level with people that it becomes crazily meaningful. It feels fantastic to be in that relationship. Now, let's talk about how. So, how can we make that vulnerability turn into the ability to create and craft and maintain these very deep relationships with people? So, number one, it makes people trust you. So, when you can be honest about feeling hurt, honest about your thoughts and experiences, even when those might be positive or negative, this notion that we always have to come across as looking perfect, feeling great, everything is fantastic. That's not real. That's not real life. And that's not what's going to make people resonate with who you are. It's not what's going to allow you to get deeper with people. So, this ability to be honest about things, particularly your mistakes, when you can actually sit back and say, you know what, I screwed up there. I made a big mistake and I'm willing to admit that. This is huge. I'm going to give you an example right now. So, there was a morning about a week and a half ago, and these silly Canadian winters that will never go away. And I'm walking my kids to the bus stop. And, we drove up in the car because I usually try to just drop them off with my car. And then I right away go to the gym after, get my juices flowing for the day. That's kind of my system. So we drive up in the car, we're getting out of the car, and it's freezing. It's minus something. And I have already said in the morning, everybody wear your winter stuff, time to go. And, there's my son walking out of the car, and all he's got on is his spring jacket. And I lost it. I said, oh my goodness, you didn't listen to me. Why are you wearing your spring coat? It's freezing outside. Now we're going to be late. We might miss the bus. And I zoom back in my car and I'm just frantic. I'm just out of control. I'm not acting in a way that would be super conducive to anything productive. And I race back to the house and I run inside like a mad woman and I get the winter coat and I get back in, and he makes he sees the state that I'm in, but he makes one little comment like, I don't feel the cold the same way as everyone else does, Mom, something like that. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I said winter clothing and that's what needs to happen today, and on and on and on. And then he gets on the bus and so does my daughter, and they go to school. And then within about 5 minutes, I feel awful. I feel really awful, to the point where I literally start tearing up at the gym. And it has dawned on me that I have made a big mistake here, that it wasn't that big of a deal that my son had the spring coat on and not the winter. Was he going to die as a result of that? No. Was he going to be a little bit more cold? Maybe. Maybe that would also allow him to grow up a little bit, to see that, oh, maybe I should have worn winter. So on other days like this, I'm going to wear my winter jacket, but to teach him to manage himself well as also. And I start to realize that I created this whole hoopla around something that really wasn't that big of a deal. And I felt awful all day. And so at the end of school that day, my daughter goes off to her sport and I'm sitting with my son. I said, I got to talk to you for a minute. And I came out with it and I just said, Bud, I want to tell you that I'm really, really sorry about the way I behaved this morning. It wasn't as big of a deal as I made it. And I'm deeply sorry for that. I really freaked out for no big reason. If you were going to be a little more cold at recess in your spring coat, well, so be it. And maybe that would allow you to grow up a little more. And I, as a parent, am trying to let go a little bit now that you're the age of 10, turning 11. And I want you to grow up a little bit. And that means I got to back off a little bit. And I was very honest with him about my own parenting journey and the mistakes that I am making along the way and how I am always trying to be better and to notice my mistakes and to do better against those mistakes in months and days ahead. And, my sweet guy, he's like, Oh, it's okay, mom. It's fine. I said, were you cold at recess? He goes, no, not really. So there you have it. Sometimes we make these mistakes, and sometimes we let our minds and preconceived notions about how something is supposed to go really get to us to the point where we are not really behaving our best. And the most important thing is that I was honest about the way that I felt about it. And I truly believe that. That little moment there where I admitted to my mistake and I apologized to my son and I talked about the reasons why I thought it was wrong and the reasons why I want to do better in that area. And he was receptive to that. And we had a great hug and we had a great moment. And from that point forward, my son will know that when mom really screws up, she's going to say sorry. And when mom does a mistake, she admits it and she owns up to it. And we teach our kids these things so that they too can be vulnerable in any space. They too can step up when they've made a mistake and not try to cower behind that mistake and pretend that it never happened. That's not real. Real life and real authenticity to ourselves is understanding that we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be perfect. And then owning up to that in a very real way, saying sorry when it needs to be said, admitting to those mistakes and showing people that we want to do better. It is working that vulnerability into your relationships to make them stronger. Number 2, vulnerability encourages other people to be vulnerable and open in return. So this is huge, right? When you show your vulnerability, you are creating comfort for other people. And when people know that you're always willing to be so open, they feel safe. They feel safe to do that too. And make no mistake about it, all of us walking this earth here, we want to be able to be vulnerable. We want to be able to be honest. But all these things that we've been taught in the past, whether it's patterns of behaviors we've learned from our parents, from our grandparents, from other people in our lives, from maybe traumatic situations that we've been involved in, they can sometimes pull us from that truth because in our heads, we're like, well, this is the way we're supposed to act. This is how I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be great right now. I'm supposed to be perfect right now. I'm not supposed to make mistakes right now. But that's not real. And when you bring that vulnerability into yourself and you own it, and then you bring that to your relationships, you will have the depth and the meaning behind those relationships that will make you fulfilled as a human being. And finally, vulnerability fosters empathy and understanding in a back and forth motion. So if you could actually get a certain relationship to the point where both parties are open and vulnerable and willing to share and willing to be real and willing to be everything that is, all the messiness and all the stuff that isn't perfect, if we can both do that, then back and forth we support one another, which means we get to another level of depth in that relationship. And we help each other through tough things and we don't judge, we listen. And then together we create this stronger bond in the relationship. And it's a beautiful thing. And you will find that if you can deepen your relationships in your life, if you can get them to a better, more real and vulnerable place, you will be happier. You will feel more fulfilled. You will feel supported and loved and confident in yourself. So before I go any further here, I want to say that if you enjoyed this and if this resonates with you and you think that this is something you might want to hear about on a regular basis when it comes to how to deepen your relationships, how to master conversations, to have better relationships with others and yourself, then please hit subscribe. I plan to post twice a week on this, on how to help you communicate better, connect deeper, and feel more like you again. And now I want to direct you to another video after this, so be sure to click on the next screen and I'll see you there.